Hey, what's up, everybody? Gonna do a classic rock reaction, man. This reaction is a full album reaction. We're doing Led Zeppelin's Presence. You're probably thinking, well, why are you doing Presence? You're doing it all over again. Actually, no. What I've done previously was I've done reactions to song by song by song, but I have actually not done full album reactions the way it was intended originally by the artist. You sit down, put on the LP, and you listen from beginning to end. There's quite a lot of vibe and experience from that, doing that. So I don't want to deny myself that. And these particular albums that I've chosen, Led Zeppelin 3, Houses of the Holy, this one, Presence, and In Through the Outdoor, the one to come after this. I want to reconnect, so to speak, to those albums. Those 4 albums I've mentioned are the ones that I feel that I have less of a connection to. And so I want to just kind of go back through it with a fine-tooth comb and have that full album experience, hence kind of doing a reconnecting kind of listen. And along the way, I'm going to extend it into the other albums too, because I've had a number of people who said, well, yeah, I know that you've listened to the other albums on your own time, it's on your playlist, but you haven't actually presented us an actual full album reaction. So we would actually like that, in keeping with the Led Zeppelin factor on your channel. So I said, hey, it's all good. I will not say no to a Led Zeppelin album request. So that is what I am up to. And I'm not even going to touch on some of the people who still have not caught on to the fact that this is my channel and I will do whatever the hell I damn well please with my own channel. I will listen to what I want. I will listen to it as often as I want. I will do as much Led Zeppelin as I want, as much whatever I want to do, reading, whatever the case may be. And if you insist and you continue to come into my channel, my house, telling me how I should do reactions, I might just turn Led Zeppelin into another artist of the month for the 3rd time, right? And your ass will be full of Led Zeppelin every single day. I've got enough Led Zeppelin footage shot to give you a Led Zeppelin reaction every single day for the next 3 months. Don't mess with me. Just so you know, that's the way I roll. If you don't like my Led Zeppelin reactions, if you don't like it, if it's too much for you or whatever the case may be, skip the Led Zeppelin reactions or leave. You've been warned. Some of the new people coming in, this is how I roll where it comes to Led Zeppelin and ownership of my channel. Got it? All right. With that said, for those great subscribers of mine and great patrons of mine who have been with me since the beginning, you are the motherfuckers I care about the most. Everybody else, you're in a different category. So, with that said, you know who you are. Let's hit this up, man. Presence all the way through. Led Zeppelin. Let's get it. Cheers to you, my subscribers and patrons who've been with me from the get on this Led Zeppelin journey. Cheers to you. I've been drinking a lot of sugarcane rum. That's why I've got so much liquid courage.
As I turned to you, you smiled at me. I could
Those drums, man. Did you hear those drums? This song belongs to John Bonham.
To the sun, the south, the north, lies the birds that fall. Shackles of commitment fell, and pieces on the ground. Oh, to ride the wind, tread the air above the din. Oh, to laugh aloud, dance the light for the crowd, yeah.
Can't see how the guitars are.
Seek the man who's pointing hand, the giant step unfolds, guide us from the curving path that turns our feet to stone. If one bell should ring, celebration for a king, so fast the heart should beat, as proud the head with heavy beats, yeah.
These guys are the riff kings, I'll tell you. Doesn't seem to be talking to you when he's playing that damn guitar. Sometimes he's beautiful, sometimes he's in earnest, sometimes he's in pain. Certain guitarists can talk to you when the pages are. Hear those damn drums. don't know how else to describe it. It's one of my favorites. Damn, man, those drums. It just wakes you the hell up, doesn't it? Where do you put this song on your list of favorite Led Zeppelin songs? Where is it? Top 5?
When the mighty ones rise, all the heavens from the earth.
It's fantastic. Great vocals. Great vocals. Up on the bones this song. After my first reaction to this song, I was just in a fog. I played the shit out of it on repeat for half a day. I was cursing radio stations for not playing this often enough for me to actually hear it. Man. With his lemon in her hand.
Had to pull away to save me. Maybe next time around. Oh. And she said, don't you want cook it? And I'm glad to good night stand. Try it, fry it.
They played this during the O2 concert. I don't know if they've performed it anywhere else, but damn, that was a really good record.
Hello.
Those big screws.
You wanna move
follow some classic rock song structure, infusing instrumentals, stretching the song out.
When you blow it, babe, you got to blow it right. Baby, you forget my mind. Baby, babe, with all your might. When you forget my mind, please think it right for yourself, baby. When you find your mind, baby, you're faking it for your life, for your life, for your life, for your life.
Great musicianship.
Do it, do it, do it, do it, do it. Do it when you wanna. Do it, do it, do it, do it. Do it when you wanna.
It's just how they go in and out of these, I don't know, verses, the way they navigate through them. What about this song? I bet many of you would say this is probably your
But I don't know what to do.
favorite song of this album. I wouldn't be surprised.
Something, baby. Nothing I can do. On the balance of the crystal, laying through yours. And when they couldn't resist you, I thought you'd go with the flow. And now your stage is empty. And now the curtain, baby, please fold up your show. And when you could not stand to frying there, I had planned it, I overran it, frying for your life, for your life.
That's a fantastic song. One where I just so enjoy the musicianship.
One time love, take care how you use it. Try to make it last all night. And if you take your pick, be careful how you choose it. Sometimes it's hard to feel it right. Feel it right. A man I know went down in Louisiana, had himself a bad, bad fight. And when the sun beat through, shot down on his Susanna, and kissed the whiskers left and right. Now, fight subside at a hotel in the quarter. I first did the past tonight. Now love gets hot, but fight preceded water. We just did that real life.
Have they ever played this song live? I'm trying to remember. This is the song about
Care how you use it.
that tranny encounter
Last time now.
that Jonesy had.
You take your pick. Be careful how you choose it.
She better not talk like
Sometimes
Barry
it's
White.
hard to feel it right.
Fantastic. This would be a grooving song performed live. Oh, baby. This is a classic song. These guys did Blind Willie Johnson proud.
Nobody's fault but mine. Nobody's fault but mine.
I played the Blind Willie Johnson original for my pops, and then I played this after. He didn't talk for a while. And then he goes, shit. These kids really know how to put it on. That means he approved. This guy's a great harmonic player. He's a great musician in his own right. I'd like to get more of Robert Plant playing the harmonica.
Nobody's fault but mine.
doing something different. It's like 3 different licks going on. Every instrument is the main feature. You have to call and response. Fantastic. One of their best, in my opinion. Spin inside your drum. Robert May. I would say every other song, Robert Plant is singing about something sexual. Excellent.
I was burning in the heat of the moment. No, couldn't feel the heat of the day. I learned how my time had been wasted. You fellas, I turned away. Now I've got friends who will give me the shoulder. But then I should happen to blow. The timing is right, going older. Got friends who will give me front row. Corner of Beaker and nowhere in the land of not quite days. Shiver ran down my backbone, face in the mirror turned gray. So look around the hitch of the reindeer, searching hard trying to brighten the day. I turned round to look for the snowman, to my surprise he melted away. Yeah. The moon and the stars for the order. It's appetite stands for ebb and slate. The sun in my soul sinking lower while the hope in my hands turn to clay. I don't ask at my feet full of clover. I don't moan at opportunity's door. I look to ask my thoughts, take it slower. Let the story be your finest reward.
Great guitar, man. Fantastic guitars. So present in everything that they do.
Lost on the path to attainment, searching the eyes of the wise. When I fled from the heart of the matter, sort of bleeding without a disguise. Now that everything's fine in the haven, now and then you gotta take time to pose. You look down on the ground when you miss all around. If you landed a boat without oars. La 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 la, yeah. La 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 la, my baby. La 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 la,
Even though the song is fun and bouncy, he's singing about some serious shit.
Hey babe, hey babe, hey babe, I lost my lady. Hey babe, hey babe, I really, really didn't. Hey babe, hey babe,
He's got friends that would
I
give
don't
him
know when I'm on
their
about.
shoulder.
Hey babe, hey babe, do you wanna know me? Do you really, really wanna help me? Yeah.
And friends that would give him fuck all.
Let me tell you now, babe, let me tell you, that it feels so good, but it must be right to my babe. Let me tell you, if it feels so good, then it must be right to my babe. Let me tell you, if it feels so good, so good, so good. Oh, yes.
Excellent song. That song being performed live, I'm sure that everyone would be dancing, not paying attention to the serious message. just a sister to Since I've Been Loving You. The twin.
How come 24 hours? Baby, sometimes seem to slip in a day. Oh, 24 hours. Baby, sometimes seem to slip in the day. Yeah. 1 minute seems like a lifetime. Oh, baby, when I feel this way. Sitting, looking at the clock. Time moves so slow. I've been watching for the hands to move until I just can't look no more. I got 24 hours. Baby, sometimes seem to slip into day. A minute seems like a lifetime. Baby, when I was a time that I stood tall in the eyes of other men, but by my own choice I left you, woman, and now I can't get back again. I've got 24 hours. Sometimes seem to slip into days. Yes, well, and it seems like a lifetime. Better than I feel, yeah. It seems like a lifetime. Oh, baby, when I feel this way, I feel this way.
All right, y'all. And there we have it, man. Led Zeppelin's Presence. Great songs. Great album. And yeah, man, I hear a lot of you about the whole album experience, doing it in one sitting. I get where you're coming from in regards to the vibe and the whole motion of things. And going back to the experience of when you were growing up and when you listened to this entire LP, going all the way through, that is very, very important. I understand that importance. Great album, man. And of course, you know, going back in time and reviewing the songs off of Presence, I got enough information in regards to what was happening in the life of the members of Led Zeppelin, the band at the time, and you know, the reception of the album. Now, the reception of the album was mixed, and a lot of them downright not very flattering. And that's based on the fact that, of course, it was being compared to their previous works. I mean, if Presence is following that monster iceberg in the form of physical graffiti, come on, man, everything else is going to fall short. But when you look at the album for what it is, by itself, without anything comparing it to anything, it's a great album. Great songs, great musicians, great everything about this album, you know? And that's how I look at this album. I love this album. I think it's great. And listening to it now all the way through in full, I have even a deeper appreciation for it. Absolutely. And I've said this many times before. If I am a new artist coming onto the scene, and you basically just give me this album to run with as kind of like a lead into a career, I would have fantastic success with this. Me, my band members, we would be rock stars overnight with this album. Absolutely. With the songs on it, every single song, this album would make us rock stars. And if we did nothing else after this, it would be enough to seal us in history as rock stars. You know what I'm saying? And so, of course, with Led Zeppelin setting the bar so high and then anything else below that is to a lot of people unacceptable. And that's just being a flawed human being, But I tell you, just for my listening ear appreciates the musicianship. It appreciates the message behind the music. It appreciates the song for what it is, and I separate my mind from comparing it to anything else, And when you do that, you really, really form a great appreciation for this album and for the lads, who they were, and listening to what they were going through with Plant's injury and Jimmy's abuse and Bonham's boozing and Jonesy being unhappy and wanting to possibly pull the pin at the time. For them to still go into the studio and create something like this, hats off to them, man. Hats off to them. So, let's do this, y'all. Let's do a review of this great album, man. Do I need a break? No, I don't need a break. But let me take another suck back of this great sugarcane rum. I've been drinking too much of it, man. One of my New Year's resolutions is not to drink as much of this stuff. It's so damn good, though. Coffee, too. It's coffee and sugarcane rum. That's a wicked combination. I gotta cut that shit out. I couldn't drive right now. And liquid courage, too. That's why I blasted a few people at the beginning of this reaction. So sorry about that. I'll feel a little bit of remorse later. Not much, though. So, Presence. Led Zeppelin's Presence. Presence is the 7th studio album by English rock band Led Zeppelin, released by Swan Song Records on the 31st of March in '76. While the record was a commercial success, reaching the top of both the British and American albums charts and achieving a triple platinum certification in the US, it received mixed reviews from critics and was the lowest selling studio album by the band while they were still active. The album was written and recorded in the last months of '75 during a difficult time in the band's history. Singer Robert Plant was recuperating from serious injuries he had sustained earlier that year in a car accident. This led to tours being cancelled and the band booking studio time to record Presence instead. The entire album was completed in a few weeks, with guitarist and producer Jimmy Page putting in several long shifts to complete recording and mixing. The title came from the strong presence the group felt as they worked together. The LP's artwork from Hypnosis featured several photographs centered around a mysterious black object called the Object. Presence is dominated by compositions by Page and Plant, with only one track credited to the entire group. Unlike other Zeppelin albums, it features no keyboards and little acoustic guitar. Because Plant was still recuperating, the band could not tour to capitalize on the release, and only 2 tracks, including the 10-minute opener, Achilles' Last Stand, were performed live. Sorry, what was the other track that was performed live after Achilles' Last Stand? Can you let me know? I know that they performed For Your Life at the O2 concert, but I don't think that's the other song that they're referring to, is it? What would be the other song that was performed live? It must be Nobody's Fault But Mine. Anyway, let me know about that. However, the album has been reappraised in retrospective reviews for its hard rock dynamics and simplicity compared to the group's other work. Simplicity is not a bad thing at all. Background. After touring in support of their previous album, Physical Graffiti, released in early '75, Led Zeppelin took a brief break from touring that summer, intending to start a major US tour on the 23rd of August. These guys were just touring their asses off, man. I wonder if they regret being that busy. Well, answer this question for me. If you were Led Zeppelin back in the day, why did you feel it necessary to tour that much? especially knowing your value in the marketplace. You had a bulldog like Peter Grant who could help you acquire whatever kind of leverage you wanted in a sense of point breaks in your touring and things like that. Why did they feel the need to tour that much? And answer this question for me, putting yourself in their place, knowing Led Zeppelin probably better than me. Do you think that they have regrets about touring that much? And if given the opportunity to do it all over again, would they find a way to scalp down their touring? Because obviously it was putting a strain on things. I remember Jonesy was saying something to the effect of, man, missing my family hard here. I remember, I believe it's Jimmy was speaking of Bonzo, how he was missing family life and missing seeing his, is it one child that he had? Missing those key moments in his child growing. And so it had definitely a really, really strong effect on their emotional well-being. So do you think, I'm probably answering my own question here, of course, but do you think that they would have regrets? If we were to interview them now and we were to ask them that question, what do you think their answer would be? How would they answer it? You know what I mean? Stuff like that. We're role-playing, you know what I'm saying? However, singer Robert Plant sustained serious injuries from a car accident on the Greek island of Rhodes on August the 4th, which forced the band to cancel the tour and reschedule their activities. You're yinging and life is making you yang. Because of their status as tax exiles, Plant was forced to recuperate abroad, initially in Jersey in the Channel Islands, then in Malibu, California, and wrote several sets of lyrics that reflected on his personal situation and wondering about the future. Yeah, you see, maybe he had a tour schedule, and that would be a very sore point. You know, if we were to ever interview these guys, I'd tread very, very lightly in how I constructed that question. You know, I bet you that's a very, very sore point. Guitarist Jimmy Page joined him in Malibu in September, and the pair began to think about plans to make an album instead. The two prepared enough material to be able to present to the rest of the band. The other two members, drummer John Bonham and bassist John Paul Jones, joined them at Hollywood's SIR studio, where they rehearsed the material throughout October of '75. Recording. Yo, man. Okay, I can't read all of this, man. There's too much information here. I'll read a few paragraphs though, and they can break down every single song here. But yeah, we can't read all of this. Recording. Once they had worked out arrangements, the group were eager to record. Page favored going to Musicland Studios in Munich, which he felt had state-of-the-art recording facilities. Plant was still recovering from the accident during recording and sang his vocals in a wheelchair, which led to Page assuming most of the responsibilities at the session. The album was recorded and mixed with longtime group associate and engineer Keith Harwood, and completed in just 18 days, with the final mixes finished on the 27th of November. This was the fastest recording turnaround time achieved by the band since their debut album. Yes, didn't they complete that debut album in like 30 hours? Some crazy record like that? No, just 18 hours. So their debut album would have been completed even before that, because it's saying that in 18 hours, this was their second fastest turnaround time. So yeah, man, their debut album, man. That was crazy. They were just beasts back in the day. The rushed recording sessions were in part as a result of Zeppelin in having booked the studio immediately prior to the Rolling Stones, who were shortly to record songs from their album Black and Blue, released like presents in the spring of '76. Page negotiated with the Stones to borrow 2 days from their recording session time, during which he completed all the guitar overdubs in one lengthy sessions. They had to be very good friends for them to give you 2 days of their recording time. Page and Harwood then worked on the mixes virtually non-stop until they fell asleep. Whoever woke up first went back to the desk to carry on. Page later stated that he worked around 18 to 20 hours every day during the sessions. Wow. Follow your bliss. That's following your bliss, man. That is following the call of your soul. This is why this guy is so good, so noteworthy in everything he's achieved in music. That kind of passion. You're gonna keep your ass up for 20 hours? That is love and passion for your craft. The recording sessions for Presence were also particularly challenging for Plant. The studio was in a basement of an old hotel, and the singer felt claustrophobic. He also experienced physical difficulties as a result of his car accident and missed his family. He later said he was upset about Page and manager Peter Grant booking the Presence sessions and began to reevaluate the priorities in his life. Yeah, man. Could you imagine? They were beasts back then. No, Robert, we got to get this shit out, man. We have an obligation. We've got these commitments. You will get the shit done. You'll find a way, right? That's the kind of bulldog that Grant was, and Page in their conviction. Yes, maybe a little bit on the relentless side, but yeah, you know, it's the story behind the music that captivates me as much as the music. Finding out the lay of what was going on, the foundation, the backdrop of what was happening, and what it took for these guys to get this music to us. I always appreciate that shit, because sometimes it takes a tremendous amount of sacrifice, sometimes selling your damn soul, you know? The album was completed on the day before Thanksgiving. Plant suggested to the record company the album should be called Thanksgiving. This idea was quickly dropped in favor of a title that was thought would represent the powerful force and presence that the band members felt surrounded the group. Even after all those years, from their debut, when they started to jam together and they knew that they had a great sound and they had this incredible force in the beginning, they still have it so many years later. Well, not that many years later, 75, 76. But yeah, you know, when you're cranking out so many songs, you're on tour that often, and you're in each other's face all the time, constant, but yet you still have that, it speaks volumes. Yeah, songs. I won't read each song breakdown, it's too long. 6 of the 7 songs in the album are Page and Plant compositions. The remaining song, Royal Orleans, is credited to all 4 members. This is because the majority of the songs were formulated at Malibu, where Page, but not Bonham and Jones, had initially joined a recuperating Plant. With Plant at less than full fitness, Page took responsibility for the album's completion, and his playing dominates the album's tracks. Both Page and Plant had planned this album's recording session as a return to hard rock, much like their debut album, except at a new level of complexity. Always changing things up. Why? Because they can. It marked a change in the Led Zeppelin sound towards more straightforward guitar-based jams, whereas their previous albums, up to and including the previous year's Physical Graffiti, contained electric, hard rock anthems balanced with acoustic ballads and intricate arrangements. Presence was seen to include more simplified riffs and is Led Zeppelin's only studio album that features no keyboards, and with the exception of a rhythm track on Candy Store Rock, no acoustic guitar. That was an entire one sentence right there. It did have a comma though. The changed stylistic emphasis on this album was a direct result of the troubled circumstances experienced by the band around the time of its recording. Page later said the music came from this spontaneity. Plant later described it as a cry of survival and speculated the group would not make another album like it. But at this point, they knew that they could just go forward and make something different. This is 1976. I'm sure that they were starting to look towards the 80s. You know, a lot of people, well, I wouldn't say a lot of people. There was one person who was adamant about, no, they didn't have that in their scope at the moment. I think they did. I think that they had a feel that there was going to be a shift in the sound of music, and it was in their heads. I don't know how much planning ahead that they were going for, but I think that they knew. And you know what? Like I say again, in my stupid little daydreams, when I think about interviewing these guys, that's one of those questions that I would ask. How far ahead were you looking? Did you know that there was a shift coming where it comes to the sound? Of course, you can assume it, yes. But somebody as in tuned as Page, you know, given his history of being ahead of the curve, I think that he knew, and I bet you he had a plan. That's the shit I would ask, man. Release and reception. The album was released on the 31st of March in '76, having been delayed by the completion of the album sleeve. In Britain, it attained one of the highest ever advanced orders, shipping gold on the day of release. It entered at number 2 and peaked the following week at number 1 on the US Billboard Pop Albums chart. However, this album is the lowest selling of their careers, and it was overshadowed by the release of the band's movie and soundtrack. The song remains the same. Right, another factor. So the song remains the same, the buzz would have still been in the air. Okay, totally get it. Candy Store Rock was released as a single in the US, but it failed to chart. In a contemporary review for Rolling Stone, Stephen Davis said Presence established Led Zeppelin as the premier heavy metal act and featured some exceptional rock music. Why do they insist on labeling Led Zeppelin as heavy metal? After all of those great albums like Led Zeppelin 3, Houses of the Holy, and then this. And dude is still insisting on calling them heavy metal. Highlighting the clean and purifying guitar riffs. In spite of a few dull blues rock songs, the album was another monster in what by now is a continuing tradition of battles won by this band of survivors, in Davis's opinion. Let's go back to what he said there. In spite of a few dull blues rock songs. Okay, so this reviewer is just comparing this album to their previous works. He is in the camp of give me those hard rocking blues rock power songs, power driving songs of Led Zeppelin 1 and 2. That's where he's at. Robert Christ, no. Yeah, let's move on. I don't want to read anything this dude has to say. Neil McCormick of the Daily Telegraph claimed it was Zeppelin at their most blunted, awarding it 2 stars out of 5. Pitchfork's Mark Richardson dubbed Presence as one of Zeppelin's worst albums. However, he added, none of these songs sound like they could have come from another record. Unquote. In a retrospective review, a Q critic who gave the album 3 out of 5 stars wrote, quote, Presence sounds as rushed as it was, unquote. Okay. I'm glad he's got a great ear for that. Obviously, he's got a better ear than me, because unless I was told, I wouldn't have had that wherewithal to come up with that summation. You know, I admit it, critics. You are much more in tune, much more wise, much more educated about being a critic than me. I admit it. According to Dave Lewis, the direct, hard-hitting nature of the 7 recordings failed to connect with a fan base more accustomed to the diversity and experimental edge of their previous work. Page later acknowledged that because the album conveys a sense of urgency resulting from the troubled circumstances in which it was recorded. Quote, it's not an easy album for a lot of people to access. It's not an easy album for a lot of people to listen to, unquote. Lewis nonetheless believed that Presence was underrated, as its music packs a considerable punch, unquote, highlighting Page's playing and the production on the album. Fellow journalist Mick Wall said it, quote, pulled Led Zeppelin back from the brink of crisis, unquote. This album pulled them back from the brink of crisis. Okay, so he's talking about the personal struggles that the band had. Maybe the band was starting to show some cracks. Maybe at the time they were starting to feel the strain of being on the road, and especially the big booming success from Physical Graffiti, and then afterwards, Plant's accident, all of these different factors. I think that's what he's saying. Okay, man, and that is our look at this excellent album, Presence. And I understand how a lot of critics will say, yeah, it's not as good as their previous stuff. It's different. And different for a lot of people, especially where music is concerned, is not good. Some people might have been back then. Answer this for me, because you were probably around when Presence came out. Seeing the way Led Zeppelin changed up their sound, was that frustrating for you? I imagine it would have been if you were wanting the stuff from the early years, the first two albums. So it must have been a frustrating affair for you, if you're basically expecting a big booming album like the first and the second one. Or did you grow to appreciate their diversity, their creativity? After a while, you realize these guys aren't just a one-dimensional boom. They can mix things up and change things, and they can go back to the thunder whenever they feel like it. I bet you that's how you came out on the other end. Let me know about that. This is interesting stuff, isn't it? I look at this stuff like it's a science, man. Zeppelin is a science to me. All right. So, I'm going to bounce, y'all. That is my reaction and my review to this great album. Coming up down the road, sorry, I can't remember who sent me the link to Blueberry Hill. I'll get onto that. I'm going to do In Through the Outdoor after this one, of course. Still got some of their solo stuff to do. Is it Evelyn? Evelyn sent me some interviews. Got to get to that. So the Led Zeppelin journey down the rabbit hole still continues. Still many dimensions that I'm uncovering, and still really, really digging it. To all of you who like my Led Zeppelin reactions, thank you very much for the support. I appreciate it. To all of you who don't like my Led Zeppelin reactions as much, that's okay. I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys not littering my comment sections, though, and wasting my time and my subscribers and patrons' time with your posts. You don't have to post shit. If you don't like Led Zeppelin, that's fine. Just skip that and wait until I post something else. Don't feel obligated that we need to hear from you. You're not that important that we need to hear what you got to say about not liking something, right? Don't waste our time with that shit. Move on. A couple of you, I really got to lean into you sometimes and make examples of you just so that you get it. And you keep coming at me with, don't do so much, don't do so much. Well, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to do more. So watch yourselves, because I might turn Led Zeppelin into an Artist of the Month for the third and maybe even fourth time, right? That is how I roll. That is how I answer people telling me what to do with my channel. All right. I'm drunk, you can tell, right? That's all right. I really appreciate this album and the history that it plays in place for Led Zeppelin. There has to be a better, and there has to be a best, and there has to be a worst, if you want to call this their worst. But I appreciate this album for what it is, and I would listen to it down the road just like the way it was intended to be listened to in full, without skipping anything. That's how much I appreciate them and how much I appreciate this. And like I said, give me their worst, and I will take that and I will turn it into a successful recording career. And this album would make me and my band rock stars, big time, successful rock stars. And if all we did was we had these songs as a album and then as a tour afterwards, we would be successful rock stars and we would be multi-millionaires. Not too bad for Led Zeppelin, worse. You know what I'm talking about? Anyway, that is my reaction. So thanks for joining me, y'all. I appreciate it. Thanks for suggesting that I listen to the album in full from beginning to end. I see the value in doing that. And I never doubted it, but when a number of people were saying, please do this, please, I realized, okay, yeah, there's something that I'm missing that I haven't experienced yet. So thanks for coming at me that way. Anyways, thank you guys, take care, and I'll catch you in my next Zeppelin reaction. Peace.